Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Command Combat Battle Reports. Today we are doing Empire Total War, it's the American Civil War mod of that, which is called Brother Against Brother, I believe. Anyway, what we have is, of course, Union versus Confederate. Sherman and Chamberlain are the Union generals, and Jackson and Longstreet are the Confederate ones. Generals oftentimes had a very big impact on their armies in this war. Alright, so we got the 12-pounder howitzer and the light horse artillery. They're coming up to the top of this hill to be able to fire down on the Confederates there. This is Sherman's unit here. Union cavalry over here on their side. Union engineers, looks like they're doing the defensive setup. And over here we got sharpshooters, volunteer infantry, and then the back is the Iron Brigade. So a very basic formation where the sharpshooters are doing the skirmish order at the front, regular line formation behind them, and the elite unit behind them. Looks like that was a pretty bad hit right there with artillery. The Iron Brigade was one of the most elite units of the Union side. And then we got Buford's cavalry and Custer's cavalry back there. So cavalry over here all on the side. Buford's cavalry was the one that held off the Confederates on the first day of Gettysburg. And Custer's cavalry is back there. He's probably most famous for his big debacle at the end. Looks like they're setting up. Yep, Buford's cavalry is setting up in the woods, dismounting their cavalry, and gonna go up there and use them as mobile infantry, which is what they were used for usually. Now here's Jackson's unit. You've got regular infantry all along here, and then Stonewall Brigade. It looks like they're heading over. There's some of their artillery wreaking havoc on the dismounted men there. Looks like what he's doing is he's trying to sort of ignore his direct opponent of Sherman and go right after Chamberlain. I keep messing up his name. I don't know why. He's like a hero at Gettysburg and practically saved the Union. But yeah, it looks like he's just trying to join with Longstreet over there and tackle Chamberlain, which is not a bad idea. Anyway, alright, so over here we got the artillery that's firing. Seems to be doing some work on them. A 12-pounder howitzer, that's what you do with those. A Whitworth over there, and a Napoleon over here firing out of the woods. Now Napoleons were smoothbore artillery, usually better at short range, and things like the howitzer were mostly used to fire over cover and explode over the heads of the enemy, which did a lot of damage to their morale. You can see what kind of range they're shooting at. That's probably rifled artillery of the Union up there. What is that? It's horse artillery. And yeah, 12-pounder howitzer of their own, so they're really firing far there. And the Confederates have Hampton's Legion back here, which is their cavalry. So it looks like Jackson is choosing to use his rather than on the flanks, but as sort of his reserve, which was a logical way to use them. Now, okay, so what Jackson's doing now is he's breaking off some of the infantry here to take on Sherman's men, probably try to hold them in place while the rest of his force moves on to help Longstreet take out Chamberlain. Speaking of which, let's take a look at this battle already in progress. This is Longstreet's men, that's the Confederate. He's got the engineers here on the side. Engineers, Gregg's Brigade, which is one of their better units. Gregg's Brigade, regular infantry, and engineers on their flank. The engineers are usually good for defense. They've got Union has volunteer infantry here, some militia. What is that? Oh, colored infantry. Forgive me if don't mean that as a racist thing. It's just that's what they called them back then, so that's why they have them. Here they're actually really good with morale because, of course, they have a lot they're fighting for. They're trying to, not be slaves. Got Union sharpshooters mixed in there. Chamberlain kind of has his men mixed around in there quite a bit. He's got a lot of his men going through cavalry, which is slowing them down. His 20th Maine, that was his actual unit, and militia. So it looks like Chamberlain went with large numbers of militia, which are less good troops, but cheaper, so you get more of them. And he's already lost some colored infantry back there. They were probably right in the middle of everything at the beginning of the battle while I was looking at Sherman's men. And over here we already have a melee going on, and it looks like the Union Lightning Brigade, which is their cavalry. Chamberlain chose that apparently as his cavalry. He's coming in, but it looks like they're passing right on by, and they're probably going to go after the flank of the Confederates. Maybe wrap them up from behind. Let's see what happens here. It looks like after a few losses, they are going to go in there and hit their flank and knock them down. That is some Confederate engineers who are usually better at defense, but when you have cavalry hitting on the side like that, your defense is going to be pretty smacked. Now, usually cavalry at this particular time period don't do as well, certainly not as well as they did during Napoleonic years, but they still had an effect. I think some people exaggerate how their ineffectiveness. Now, actually, I forgot to look at the artillery back here that's supporting the Confederates. We've got 24-pounder howitzer, which is limbered again and trying to move up a little ways, and a Napoleon, which actually I would move that up as well, because again, it's the Napoleons that are better at short range rather than long range, because it's smoothbore. 12-pounder Napoleons for the Union, 10-pounder Parrott rifle. So yeah, you can see these. Wow, they're limbering those as well. They're probably going to try to get all of those closer to the battlefield. Although it's not really necessary with the Parrotts, because the Parrotts usually do really good at long range. Looks like the Union is, Chamberlain's men are committing all of their cavalry. They're rushing right, once again, kind of jumbling a lot of his units, but he's punching them right in the center there, right where it's just a real. Oh, and the Confederates over there on their left flank, the Union right flank, or Chamberlain's right flank, is punching through one of the Union lines. That is some more militia, which is going to be hard to hold against a cavalry attack. So it looks like everybody's sort of committing their units, not using a lot for a reserve. Longstreet is waiting for Jackson to come in. It looks like, yeah, Jackson's Stonewall Brigade is, yeah, two units for Stonewall Brigade and a regular infantry have made it. Looks like he put these units out here to stop Sherman's men, so it's just 2 units of his regular infantry are holding off Sherman's entire army, while the rest of his force goes over here to help Longstreet push at Chamberlain, and it appears to be working. You can see all these Union units routing now. Union militia is trying to hold them off here, and it's just a big slugfest right there in the center, which the Confederates may win since they now have a large force. Longstreet was able to commit all of his forces, including... Oh, but now here, okay, that Buford cavalry that went in the middle is able to run around, kind of wreak havoc. But what have we here? It looks like Chamberlain himself has been killed. He probably was in there one of those fights and got himself killed. So that's going to have a bad effect on Chamberlain's men. But it looked like what the Confederates were doing, because the Union cavalry had gotten back there into their rear. I could see over there a little bit earlier that some of Longstreet's men were turning around trying to box them in, and because they were now turned around, you had Union firing at them on the other side. So whichever direction they either had cavalry hitting them in the rear, or Union soldiers firing at them in their rear. So at last, the Union cavalry seems to be wiping them up on that side, or Chamberlain's men. But it's not going to matter a huge amount if in the center here they can't hold it. You got that colored infantry, remember I was telling you about earlier, is holding. Their morale has been holding, but now you have a lot more Confederates there than Union, because most of the militia has gone running. That's going to be Gregg's Brigade versus colored infantry, so that's going to be a real tough one right in there. But you got Jackson has made his way there now, so he's going to be adding his morale bonus as well. Chamberlain is nowhere to be found now. He had great morale boosters, but he's gone now. And you got the Vedette cavalry has punched into the Union militia here, so Union militias they're probably going to break there. So Chamberlain's probably going to be breaking here pretty soon. Meanwhile, you got this large force of Sherman's over here, which could be doing a lot. And yes, indeed, they are managing to push back the Stonewall's men, but it's only a small bit of theirs that has slowed them down and held them in place long enough for Longstreet to finish off Chamberlain over there. Meanwhile, actually, you can see over here we got the Confederate cavalry has come up here and hit the Union right in the face. Now, I really don't expect the Confederate cavalry to do much here. There's going to be a melee for a while, but really what they're doing is they're slowing the Union down in this point. They're slowing Sherman down from being able to reinforce Chamberlain over there. They're basically going to try to hold them in place long enough to take Chamberlain completely out of the equation, then Longstreet and Jackson can concentrate solely on Sherman. Yeah, there we go. He's about to lose his cavalry. So Jackson will have lost his cavalry, which is essentially a sacrifice. If any of you play chess, you understand what I mean. You sometimes put forces up there you expect to get taken, but it's a sacrifice in order to accomplish something bigger, and that's certainly what he's doing here. He's now lost his cavalry, but in so doing, he has slowed down Sherman long enough to finish off Chamberlain over here. Now, basically, all that Chamberlain has is his artillery, which has finally slowly moved its way up here, but now they're going to have to unlimber, and they're not going to have any support. So if the Confederates have any cavalry left, they're going to be able to go up and take them, and even if they have infantry, they can go up and take them. So this is going to be very tough for the Union, seeing as Chamberlain only has a little bit of artillery left and no forces to support them. While meanwhile, Sherman is going to pretty much have to fight this whole battle on his own now. Now once again, he's got this cavalry over here to protect his flank. Looks like he's coming up on the hill, and he's already getting hit by artillery over there. And he's got this line that is jutted out a little bit to the left. You got the Union Iron Brigade there, and the rest of it along here, creating almost sort of a J there, a backwards J, to line up on the hill and refuse the flanks on the left. While meanwhile, yeah, that's the Union Iron Brigade is up on the hill, firing back, which is probably a wise idea. You want to have your lesser units up front to sort of take some of the hits, and your stronger units a little bit back and up on a hill to fire down over them. However, they had to commit their Iron Brigade there on the left. Oh! Over here on the left, it looks like the Chamberlain's artillery is firing at close range, firing some of their canister down on them and taking out a lot of Confederates, but their morale is really wavering. That's the Napoleon, so they are good at short range. So they can do a lot of damage at short range, but of course when they're close enough within rifle range, yeah, the individual men get hit, and there aren't that many of them, so now they are retreating. So they've lost their Napoleons. It is going to be entirely up to the Parrott rifle. Now at least, now they're kind of doing the same thing though to the remnants, the Stonewall Brigade and these guys over here that Jackson was doing earlier to Sherman. They're at least slowing them down and keeping them from being able, even though they're going to lose all this artillery, they are indeed slowing them down and keeping them from being able to commit everything over there at Sherman right now. But it doesn't look like they're even committing anything to Sherman at the moment. It looks like they're just holding him in place until they finish off this artillery so they can then bring him in. And it looks like Jackson personally is going to come in here and finish off this artillery all by himself. And there he goes. That is Jackson and his men. Oh, but it looks like he might have been, it looks like Jackson himself got killed while taking out that artillery. Probably ran into someone's stick or something. Well, that was no good for him. So now all we have is Longstreet versus Sherman. The two corners. Sherman looks like he's holding Buford's cavalry up here in reserve. He's got them, the Buford's cavalry up on the top, and the Union cavalry, regular Union cavalry, behind the hill to keep them safe, because you can see from this angle, can't see the other ones. I'm not sure quite why he has Buford's cavalry up there, probably just ready to come down on them at a moment's notice. And over here on the far right, the sharpshooters have come out of the woods, and they are slowly pushing their way at the Confederate infantry. Now they're in green. That would be Berdan's sharpshooters. That means it's some of the first use of camouflage in the American Army. You can see they have green. Now it's pretty much bright green. It's not really like different shades of camouflage, but and some of them are taking hits. But it's the first time they went, you know what, let's try not wearing these bright colors and make ourselves targets. Let's actually have the color of the environment, and it'll be a little bit harder to see us. So they would hide in the woods, fire out, and be able to hit at long ranges. That's the kind of damage they're doing over here. Now they're mainly good at causing hits at a long range, but not really good at melee. So the Confederates, probably the best thing they can do is get in close and take out Berdan's raiders, or Berdan's sharpshooters. think there's another name for that. You can put that in the comments. I know that there's something more. It's not just brands, sharpshooters. Oh, and it looks like the Iron Brigade. Wow, that takes a lot to cause them to break. It looks like their entire line over here is broken. You can see where the line was because it's all the dead, and that's oftentimes what happened in Civil War battles. Is they would just, because the weapons were so accurate, the tactics were still using Napoleonic. They'd stand in these lines and they would literally just die right in the lines that they had been standing. So you can see where they were, but they aren't there anymore. They've all been taken down. Let's see. So the Union was lining up there. I was about to say they were lining up there in the woods to try to protect themselves, but didn't help. They are now retreating. And now it just comes down to the Union sharpshooters over here. That's about all they have left. Is there? Well, and you do still have this cavalry over here. It's trying to protect that flank, and you have a unit that is. Oh, the engineers, the ones that were pulled up at the beginning, you remember, for defense. The engineers are usually, in this game, are the good defenders. Looks like they're pulling back, and they're going to try to maybe pull back here to the artillery, and let the artillery just do its job to tear the Confederates apart. It's the light horse artillery that's up here. Do we have any heavier artillery? Or have they been knocked out? Oh, here we go. 12-pounder howitzers. So they're going to be counting on the light horse artillery and the howitzers to do its job. And you have some Union cavalry that's pulling back. And what have you got here? Oh, and it looks like the sharpshooters have at last broken and they are retreating. The Confederates, meanwhile, have got regular infantry, Stonewall Brigade, Confederate engineers, Stonewall Brigade, Gregg's Brigade. Oh, no, Jackson is still alive. Okay, there we go. It must have been Longstreet that was killed somewhere. So it's going to be Jackson versus Sherman. That's interesting. That entire flank that was over here is basically done for now. All of Chamberlain's men have run, and he is dead, and Longstreet's men have run, and he is dead. So you're left with some remains of Longstreet's men, such as Gregg's Brigade. That's probably about it. And then you got the Stonewall Brigade with some regular infantry, and Buford's cavalry. I think that was Longstreet's. Confederate engineers, and the engineers are taking the brunt of the attack up front, followed by Stonewall Brigade and some regular infantry, while the Union cavalry and Union engineers try to hold them off along with their artillery. So that's what it's going to come down to. Let's see if they can do it. See if the Stonewall Brigade can break through them. And I think all the Confederate artillery is done for, because I saw the Union in there a little bit ago. They were they sent in some cavalry to take them out. So it's now just a matter of, can the Confederates manage to march up there against that artillery? Let's see what it's like marching along with them. This would be tough. Say you're in the second line here. Oh, you're in the Confederate engineers. Oh, okay. Well, it looks like what the Union is doing is they're sending some cavalry over here to threaten the flank. This is probably a pretty smart move. Convince the Confederates to put their flank to your artillery, and they have the engineers trying to hold this hill. This is about what it looks like during that sure where Jackson's going over there. He's gonna try. He's probably going to try to flank the artillery there, but he's losing his infantry. The engineers have gone back, but now here comes the Stonewall Brigade. You can see it's a little darker color there. now they're just gonna go right up and get in their face. Whatever happened to that Union cavalry over here? Uh-oh, it looks like the Confederate engineers who went up there to deal with them chased them away. While I was in that line, that is a pretty important thing happened there. Sorry for the commentary error there, but oh, here we go. There, yeah, the Stonewall Brigade is just not going to mess with them. They're just going to go right up there and charge them. Get them out of their faces.
Sound the charge.
Oh, they did so well, they passed right on through them. There are a few guys back there going, I'm going to take out that artillery! Screw you, artillery! I'm going to kill... Wait, where is everybody? Oh, okay, I guess I got to go deal with this now. Now, at the very least, even if the oh, you can see the commander right in there, that bright yellow. But even if the Confederates don't, even the Stonewall Brigade doesn't win this melee here, well, they probably will, but even if they don't, they are occupying them while the rest of this regular infantry can go take out this artillery. Now, the artillery, of course, is going to get their grape shot firing here, or otherwise known as, I can't think of a canister shot. And so they're going to do some major damage to them, but the Confederate survivors will be able to rush up that hill and take out that artillery. We'll come back and see who wins that melee there. Oh, stop. Well, it might kill all the artillerists. There really aren't a large number of artillerists standing around there. I mean, compared to the, number that would be in an infantry unit. An infantry unit would have 500 to 1,000 per regiment, and then you could have a brigade, which is several thousand men, and meanwhile you have, artillery at best. Oh, it looks like, yeah, they're killing a lot of these guys. Watch for these, oh, and this is, even though it's light horse artillery, it is long range. As you can see, the barrels are black. That means it's rifle. So they're better at long range. Once they came into the short range, they're not going to do that well. Oh, and it looks like, yep, the Stonewall Brigade won their melee. Looks like there's even fewer of them than the Union guys, but their morale is so good. I mean, Stonewall Brigade they're the ones that got their name at the First Battle of Bull Run, where they just wouldn't run. Basically, everybody else was running, but they stood there like a stone wall. And in fact, General B, who said, yeah, look at Jackson standing there like a stone wall. Anyway, that's it. Thank you all for watching. You notice it's I played on one of them, the CPU played on the others, just because it's hard to find players on the Civil War game. But I would definitely call that a Confederate victory. He calls it a draw because we reached the time limit, but yeah, it was definitely a Confederate victory. The Union only had the artillery left. So thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Watch us on CommandCombatReports.com. Watch us on Facebook and Twitter.